there are problems in life which can't be solved. I said in the book, maybe it is like when, if you go to the doctor and the doctor says, you have cancer. I'm terribly sorry, but in 6 months' time, you will be dead. And there isn't a solution to your problem. And there is no God-given rule that says every profession must survive. So if you look at the macro picture, if you look back in history, first of all, you can see professions that have died. There used to be people all over Europe, for example, who made arrows. You know, how many arrow makers do you know now? They went.
So and we will die, maybe.
No, it could. I believe it could be that we are in the early stages of the death of journalism. I'm not saying, hey, what's happened to it? Oh, I've lost my way. That's symbolic. We could be in the early stages because we've been looking at the micro picture. Inside the office, is there anything we can do? If you look at the macro picture, it is very, very worrying. So if you notice with newspapers, well, first of all, those big corporations came along and ransacked our newsrooms for money. They were taking, for every euro they put in, they were taking out a euro plus 30 cents profit each year. Massive amounts of money were being taken out by closing down offices, cutting the number of journalists, all this stuff. They damaged the quality of the news, so the readers started to leave. And then a second phase, the internet, taking readers in the tens of thousands away to free news sites. And far worse, taking our advertising off to websites. Often they're free, whereas we charge money, and they're much more precisely directed at the markets they want to reach. Like if you want to sell a house in Hilversum, why would you advertise in a national newspaper? You reach thousands of people who are not interested in houses in Hilversum. You want to go on the website that is precisely about houses in this town. So we're losing, and then along comes the credit crisis. And the rate of loss of advertising in our newspapers is terrifying. The Guardian in the last 12 months lost 25% of its advertising income. Oof. Right, so it appears that that will not come back. That the internet is a fact of life which has broken our business model forever. So that the simple business model was circulation, selling papers, plus advertising covers our editorial budget. No more. So where do we now find a new income? And nobody knows the answer. Not Rupert Murdoch, not The Guardian, not the New York Times. Everybody thinks they can come up with the possibility. Nobody knows if it will work. So if somebody comes up with something that will work, journalism will survive. What you can see possibly will happen is that the kind of news aggregator software that Google uses will become very attractive to the mass media organizations who haven't got enough journalists to do the job properly. So you know the news aggregator, I always think it's like a dog that is looking for sex. It goes off and sniffs around other dogs, other news websites, and it finds a story and it downloads it for free. So if you're running a local paper in Nijmegen or somewhere, you program your aggregator to go and sniff around all the news websites, downloading stories that refer to your town, or to your football team, or to your council, or to your industry. But you will see, there comes a point when that ceases to operate properly, because that can work only if there is some source for stories to be stolen by this news aggregator. So what will happen then? PR. The public relations industry will become even more powerful and important in providing the raw material for these news aggregators to collect and put into what we laughingly call newspapers or bulletins. And just you can see a little bit of the future emerging. Because what I'm describing in the book, partly, is public relations infiltrating our newsrooms. It turns out the content of our best newspapers, 54% of our stories are wholly or mainly PR material. That's about press releases going straight into the paper. Okay. So that's the first phase. It infiltrates our stories. The second phase is beginning to happen with local newspapers in Britain. The local newspaper closes because the business model is broken. There's lots of them closing. The local government says, okay, our PR department will launch a new newspaper. And so the local community buys a newspaper that is entirely constructed of PR material, produced by PR people. And that's phase 2 of PR power. And at this moment in Britain, there is some suggestion that Rupert Murdoch may sell the Times and the Sunday Times. And this is only a rumour, but you can see how the future emerges. The prime candidate for buying the Times and Sunday Times, if that was to happen, is a PR company. Right? So you imagine a PR company buys 2 big quality newspapers. And if they tried to do that, everybody would say, oh, this is terrible, you can't do that, you can't do that. But they would do it. They would say, oh, well, we'll arrange it so that the journalism is independent, everything will be okay. But once they got their hands on it, of course it would change, and their clients would have a free run. So you can see many ways in which the big picture will get worse. And you're saying what, but if it gets worse and worse, there might be a bit of a backlash where those people on the planet who still want to know the truth about important things would go and look for a source. And therefore, there would be, I think that may well be right. I think only complete drunkards tell you they can see the future, and I'm stone cold sober. So, but it is possible, isn't it? There would be some kind of backlash, and that minority of people who really, really want the truth would somehow support a minority journalism industry that was still trying to do the job properly.